that's what's so difficult about the arts, is there is no right or wrong, because it's personal, it's individual, and every individual is different, and so you portray your individual feelings. So there is no, and nobody is perfect, so the feeling is not a perfection, something that you can perfect. Yes, you can work on your technique, and yes, you can do, I don't know how many pirouettes and everything, but again, the feeling then gets lost, and that's when it becomes fake.
So great to meet you here, Melanie.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a great pleasure. It's wonderful. You are also a dancer, and you have a dance company.
Correct. Yes.
Where are you based, Melanie?
I'm based in Bamberg, which is in the south of Germany, and I live here with my husband, Paul, who is from England, which is why I have the English surname.
I see. I thought maybe you were from England originally.
No, I spent a lot of time of my life in England. I studied in England, and then once when I met Paul on the cruise ships where we were both working, we moved back to England. So I have a lot of ties to England. Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. So, but you talk about the dancing on the ships, on the cruise ships. So you are a trained dancer.
Correct. Yes. I started to dance when I was 3 years old. My mom put me and my sister into ballet classes, and then we did all the training, the ballet, the jazz, the tap, all the way up to we finished high school. And then we both actually went to England, did a performing arts degree, and then I auditioned in London, worked in London, took classes, and then I set off onto the cruise ships. Yes.
And initially, when did it kick in with you that you decided, okay, you want to follow a dance career?
That was very early on, and I actually do remember the moment very well. It was I saw a performance in Frankfurt from the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre Company. Our ballet teacher took us, and this company to this day has been my all-time inspiration. And from that moment on, when I saw them on stage, they were performing their Revelations. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And why did you decide to go to England to study dance?
Actually, also, I have to be thankful there to my dance teacher. She went to the Northern Ballet School in Manchester to do her training. She was originally from Germany, but she found out about these courses. And she says, if you want to become a professional dancer, I recommend highly that you go to London or England, for that matter, to one of the performing arts colleges. So I applied back then with videotapes and VHS tapes, and sent those in. And then I also went to a live audition, actually, to the college I ended up going to, London Studio
Which
Centre.
college did you go to?
I went to London Studio Centres in London directly.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yeah. But wonderful that you could, that you knew from a young age that this is what you wanted to do. But the dance world is also not an easy world. So there's no guarantees. I mean, your parents, did they understand and sort of had faith that if they send you to London, that this would be happening for you?
They did, luckily. The only, I want to say, what's the word for it? Yeah, the only thing that they really wanted us to do was to finish our A-levels, because then they said, and afterwards you can do whatever you want, because then the world is wide open for you, basically. My dad's side of the family, and my dad himself, he was very musical as well. My mom came from a very music affiliated family as well. My mom originally wanted to dance, but back in the day, her parents didn't have the means to do so. And she was, I don't want to say stuck in a job that she didn't enjoy, because she was very good at what she did and she did enjoy it. However, I think deep down, she always was like, there's nothing better if you can do for the rest of your life what you really are passionate about and what you really want to do, what you really love to do. And so I consider myself extremely lucky that I had the opportunity. And to this day, I'm working, but I'm really doing my hobby.
Yeah, I recently also had a conversation with somebody. I can't remember what the interview was, but we talked about this. That almost not being able to have that opportunity to fulfill the dream, or to at least give it a chance. To see, it's almost as if it's the rest of your life you always know there's something you didn't do. So maybe this is what your mum then had the insight to send you and give you the opportunity to do it.
Definitely. And that's been part of my whole career mantra, if you will, to never have any regrets. I tried everything and I said to myself, either it's going to work or it's not. If it's going to work, great. If it's not, I'm going to open the drawer, put it inside and call it an experience.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I did. After London, I went to further my education in New York. And thinking back, I'm like, okay, I was 22. I just packed my bags and left, said bye to mom, and like, oh, I'm going to New York now. Okay, see you. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, but when we're young, we do things, we're much more daring. Maybe it's because we're much more naive and we don't know what's waiting for us.
Yeah. In that sense, less, you're less inhibited by thoughts and fears. We're fearless, far more and more daring. So.
Yeah. Well, recently I spoke to a singer and she said if she knew what was the road ahead, if she knew what everything that would happen, she probably wouldn't have done it. So it's sometimes good that we don't know, or that we are, so naive when we're young.
Yeah.
But now on the you said you worked in theater, you worked on cruise ships and so on. So did that or what experiences did you get from that?
A lot. Working for cruise ships has opened completely my mind and my vision, and I've learned so much about myself, where my boundaries are, can I go beyond them, or where is my actual limits, physically and mentally as well. I've learned I got to know so many different cultures, because working on a cruise ship is, you have 65 nations under one roof, basically. And you have to get along. I mean, you're on open sea, you just have to get along. But it's so valuable and so interesting. It really, really opens your mind. I learned a lot about the dance industry, the music theater industry, because we did all the shows. I feel like I've done it all, sort of thing, even though it was just little excerpts from them.
Yeah.
You work in conditions where you have to learn to think on your feet. You can't rely on others. It's again, you're out on the open sea. If something happens, it's upon you to take the responsibility to make it happen. Whatever that is, you can't be like, oh well, that person's just going to take care of it or something. No.
Yeah.
your responsibility. If one of the cast members gets sick, for example, we have to step in. You have to take on a singer role and start singing or pretend to sing or something. Like you really have to learn, and that's what you learn to think quickly and act upon it quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine if if you have the choices and you have time to say, okay, I'll take my time to learn a role or to, but if you're thrown into it and you really have to think, because it's also you then on stage, that has to perform and has to be able to do it.
Yes. Correct. And it can be obviously a tough, it's a tough environment. You're gone for 6, 8, or even 10 months out of a time from you don't see your family. They can come visit you or something. It depends where you are, obviously. But yeah, and you work with the same people. You eat with the people. You party with the people. You're always in that same environment. So having private moments to yourself is hard to find. So that can, get to you mentally, very much so. But then you always, obviously, you still have to perform. You're part of this big entity, part of this crew, part of the ship, and it's tough, but it's very, very valuable. When students or some friends ask me, like, would you recommend going and working for a cruise ship? I always, and my husband as well, because we met on cruise ships, we both say absolutely do it, because it broadens your horizon, it broadens your mind, and you get to know yourself really well.
Tell me about the work that you did with Dollie Henry.
Dollie Henry, we met good 20 years ago. We were just talking about it actually last month, because she was here with me in Germany. It's a good 20 years ago. We met at a audition. Actually, I was auditioning for a cruise ship, and she was holding the audition for a cruise ship agency back then. And her and I, we just clicked sort of instantly. I got her. I understood where she was coming from and what she was teaching and living and portraying and giving to the dancers. So from then on, I took her classes. I was part of the Bob company for a while before I took off again. So we have a close connection from mentor, teacher to friend.
Amazing. And tell me about your company as well, or your dance company. Do you call it a company or a school?
No, I call it a company. I teach freelance. I don't have my own school. I teach within the south of Germany, freelance, and looking to expand that into the more vocational training now. And I teach abroad a lot of workshops, which is what I really enjoy doing. But I always loved choreographing a little bit more than teaching. Sort of like dancing, then choreographing, then teaching, if I was to put it that way. And even as a kid, I had this dream, like, okay, when I cannot dance anymore, I will do, and then I will have my own company. And then we moved back to Germany, Paul and I, in like 10 years ago now, this year. And then in 2019, we did our first production of the MDance company. And because my passion is within the jazz dance, music theater, but the jazz dance, so it's a jazz dance company, which there aren't many. I don't want to. At some point, I will say I think I was the only one professional here in Germany. I'm not quite sure about that, but there's not much jazz dance anymore. So.
when I spoke to Dollie also, it really opened my mind about the jazz dancing, because what she also said is that we sometimes associate it with musical theater, and that it's the jazz dancing itself is an art form. And I've really been thinking about that, and also noticing now more and more that it is, that it is a genre completely on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets forgotten nowadays. It just gets sort of mixed up or pushed aside by the new form of the jazz dance. Musical theatre is a big part of it as well. It's just one branch of the tree. There's lots of branches, but the actual jazz dance gets pushed aside a little bit. I see that here in Germany as well. I'm not sure quite why. So I'm a little bit on a mission to try and get that back to the platform that it should be. With the companies, the company that I have, it consists of like freelance dancers that I casted for specific shows, for specific gigs. And unfortunately, we don't have the means to completely work constantly. In my dream world, we would rehearse or meet up every week and work together. Unfortunately, that's not quite possible just yet. I would say yet. But yeah, we've had 5 productions over the last 5 years. Corona obviously took a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
And sort of the wind out of my sails, because I literally did my first production just before COVID, actually.
Really?
Yeah, and then it was a bit of okay. So I'm trying.
Because everything that happened lost a little bit of momentum, because you need that momentum to carry on.
Yeah, exactly.
But after I spoken to Dollie, I also thought about, because my children did ballet, jazz, and tap. And I was thinking that I wonder if it's not there that it needs to start, at that level, where children need to learn more about jazz, and maybe get opportunity to experience the jazz dancing, and it maybe in a different way than just how it's been taught. Like it's always ballet first, and then jazz, and then tap, or the tap and the jazz then sort of on the side. But then if it can be taught, and if children get the understanding where it comes from and where the movements come from, or maybe the improvisation of it, that maybe is a good start to get the jazz, to get more understanding of jazz dancing.
Definitely. No, it sort of gets overlooked. One thinks, it's this common thing that the classical is the basis of dancing. When you look at the whole history of dance, it really isn't. It's just another form of it. I mean, the jazz dance has its origins way back. I'm sure, as Dollie, she's a pioneer when it comes to all that, and the history of it and the legacy of it. But like I just read the other day, I mean, humankind, or people used to dance and sing before they were able to speak. And, it's within the human body, and it doesn't, I feel sometimes, even in our education system, our school system, it's not valued enough in that sense. And that's where it could be brought to youngsters and to children much sooner, And then within the history, yes, the jazz dance, it comes from, a mix of the African American, the African Caribbean, and all that influences in there. And then also with the mix of the white dancing, the ballet, and the historical dances and all that. It needs to get further, or started further back, I think.
Yeah. Well, just yesterday I had an interview with a dancer in Tanzania, and he was saying how he started with their cultural dancing, like the African cultural dancing. And then he only went to discover the other forms, or the more Western form of dancing,
Yeah.
And then you realize he did the dancing. He didn't have training, anything. It was a cultural thing.
Yes. The African dance, I only just recently actually did a workshop. To my shame, I have to actually say that it was only recently that I took an African dance workshop, and a very traditional African dance, because there's also different types of African, of course, there's hundreds of thousands probably of tribal influences. So I took this one particular from the Ivory Coast. And the teacher, and I thought that was just so amazing, was actually the queen of her tribe in the Ivory Coast. So it was just completely eye-opening and amazing. We had the live music. The teachers became the dance teachers, and the dancers became the musicians. The musicians became the dance teachers. It was a complete circle of emotion and joy, really, that was within that room. One of the musicians who knew me actually says, "Melanie, you've smiled through those 3 hours like nonstop."
Really?
I was like, yeah.
But that's that energy.
Yeah.
And you see that dancers have to sort of get that background as well. So everything was based on, okay, you have to have your classical background in dancing, but that we now start looking at these African dances, these real, those cultural dances.
I definitely think so. Because the more of that is being brought to the dancer, the more you understand, and the more it makes sense. I just now, I was in Switzerland last weekend. I did a course from the Uprooted film team. There's Khadifa Wong and Zach Nemorin and Lisa O'Donnell. They did a movie about jazz dance. It's called Uprooted: The Journey of Jazz Dance. Dollie Henry is actually also being interviewed in that movie, incidentally. And Khadifa, the director, we actually went to London Studio Centre together. We visited the same course, and then she went into filming, but still having the passion for dance. And then they decided to make a film about the journey of jazz dance. And last weekend, the team came to Switzerland to show the film and teach the course. And again, at that point, the film is amazing. I was laughing. I had shivers down my spine, and I was crying and everything. And I thought, gosh, this, and even other participants who said that this so needs to be shown and out there, because you understand the language of the dance so much more, and that way you can portray it yourself so much better if you know the history, especially obviously if you want to become a professional dancer. But even if not, even if you're just, and I'm saying this very carefully, even if you're just a hobby dancer, yes, learn about where it comes from, and then you just have a better appreciation and get a better picture of it, and then maybe also definitely a better understanding, and then you can, dance freer because you know what it means or where it came from.
Yeah, and I think also dance used to be a way of storytelling. It was a storytelling, because this is how people used it for. And I also a while ago spoke to a Khoi community, a Khoi. They are a tribe in South Africa, and they have also a traditional dance where they use their feet, and where they use, with the feet they sort of in the soil, they let the dust, they work the dust up with their feet, and that has a meaning as well, and they do storytelling. They tell stories about the community through their dancing, and it's so beautiful. And what is so amazing there is, it's a group of children coming together, or a group of young people coming together, and they do that, and there's no exclusion. You come and you do it, and it's, for me, so wonderful in communities that happens, that there's no exclusion. We all dance together, and that brings that community spirit.
Correct. And that's what's so important. And that dance was a form of communication. Yeah. And still is. But it gets sometimes, I feel sometimes it gets a little bit forgotten. So especially in the whole social media world, where we show ourselves. It's a performing art. Yes, you perform, and you're putting it out there. But sometimes I feel like, don't dance to impress, and to get compliments, or to get, yes, we want to be recognized for what we do. But the origin of the dance to communicate, and yes, to include everyone in it, and in its beauty, that sometimes I feel gets a little bit forgotten. It gets very competitive. Of course it gets competitive, because that's, also as humankind, as human nature, we like to compare and with each other. But to a certain point, the root cause or the root idea of the dance needs not be forgotten. And sometimes I feel it does.
You can also go to a performance and it looks technically maybe, very lovely, but then there's no feeling. There's no, that you cannot get that, you cannot sense the dancer then.
Correct. And that's exactly what gets forgotten. We get so caught up in this perfection. And I always say that to everyone: you cannot perfect dance. It's just not, there is no perfection. That'll be terrible. It'll be terrible for the afterworld, for everyone. That's what's so difficult about the arts, is there is no right or wrong, because it's personal, it's individual, and every individual is different, and so you portray your individual feelings. So there is no, and nobody is perfect, so the feeling is not a perfection, something that you can perfect. Yes, you can work on your technique, and yes, you can do, I don't know how many pirouettes and everything, but again, the feeling then gets lost, and that's when it becomes fake and unreal, and just not authentic anymore. And that's where, with my company, I'd like to pride myself. I have my dancers, they all have different backgrounds. I have more modern-based dancers, I have jazz dancers, I have hip-hop dancers, I have the more classical. I have a mix of people. And I find that quite exciting. And people commented on that and say, like, everyone that you watch, they're so different. I'm like, yeah, exactly. So you can watch all my 9 dancers. I call them mine, they're not mine, but I say my dancers.
You can call them that. I'm sure they love that.
You can watch everyone, and they are doing the same choreography, but everyone gives it their own spice, because they're all individual, and they come from different backgrounds, and we're also multinational. It's a multinational company. I have, different ethnicities in there, by chance, not even, but, and that's what makes it exciting. It's like when you cook, if you just use salt, it's kind of bland. You need to add different spices to make it exciting.
water, beads dripping down your face, calling out my name. You were December, ice cold, freezing my blood. Somehow not enough.
And that's where in the competitive world, especially of dancing, with competitions and all that, I'm always, you cannot judge dance. It's a feeling and it's personal. You can judge sprint because, you know, this is the fastest. You can judge jumping because they jump the furthest or the highest or whatever. Yes, there's a number to it. But in dance, there isn't. How can you measure it? You know, I find that extremely difficult.
Yeah, but maybe also because you have such a variety of dancers or dancers coming from such a variety of backgrounds, that they also that also makes them feed off each other almost, you know.
100%, 100%, and I, even though when we do our shows or have done so in the past, we don't have a lot of time. That's just why sort of I wish I could see them every week and we can grow every week, you know. But I do. We meet up 4 weeks before the show and we rehearse 6 days a week. Kind of like how I'm used to it, how we did it in my cruise ship days. I worked for Royal Caribbean, which is a fantastic company, and we rehearsed for 5 to 6 weeks, 6 days straight, and then we went on the ships and did the show. So this is kind of sort of the scheme that I'm sticking to myself. But in those 6 weeks or 4 weeks, 6 days a week, you get so close. And you feed off each other. You see, okay, this is person, how does he do that? That makes it look like that or something, you know, and this is the feeling. I like your feeling. How did you get there? Or, you know, you become a very closely tight-knit group. And that's what's really exciting, and it's very bonding, and it's very intense time, and I love it. It's my favorite time.
Really, but I think as an audience member as well, it is, you know, if you see 10 dancers, it might be that you only connect with one as an audience member. So if there are a variety of dancers and personalities and if they can express themselves, or if they're allowed to express themselves in their way, then also for the audience that must be interesting.
It is, and I always love to hear what people have to tell me afterwards. Especially, I want to say people that are not within the dance industry. They said, I loved that person because, you know, it was so mesmerizing or something, or I couldn't take my eyes off of her, or, you know, or some people are like, every time I watched somebody, I saw a different story, even though the same story was told, but I saw it being told differently. And that's what I find so enriching, rather than seeing like an army of people that just do exactly the same and look exactly the same, you know. And yes, of course, an audience member can only just tend to one person and just love that one particular person. Absolutely. Yes.
But now, Melanie, tell me, how do you find it in Germany in the education system? Do you think there are enough being done for dance in the education system?
No, not at all.
Right.
Not at all. And quite sadly, actually, just recently ago, the Bavarian Kultusministerium, they decided to teach less of music, arts, and drama in the primary school systems and teach more of the academics. They want to reduce the amount. And of course, I mean, everywhere on social media was a big outcry, and also from not just, I want to say, I said that carefully, with from people within the industry, but also, from what's the English word? I can't think of it. Wissenschaftler, and dance and music forms the creative mind. And because you have to express your feelings, and because you have to go to places where, learning a math form or something, you may not go. I feel the creative part of music and drama and dancing helps develop social skills in a child. It helps develop interactive skills. You just the whole creative mind expands so much, and it helps the academics as well, which is why I'm like, why are we cutting the arts in the schools when really it could actually enhance the academics as well? I'm not saying that math or physics or chemistry is not passionate. I'm sure it is very passionate, and I'm sure people are very, very passionate, absolutely, about, there's no doubt about that. I just feel one sort of can complement the other. We cannot just focus ourselves onto one thing. And I wish the German school system, the English, I feel are a bit further ahead in that, although I think it's being cut there as well a little bit.
Yeah.
The Americans are way more into theater, singing arts, and the whole art system. But it's missing here. It's definitely missing here.
And I spoke to a dancer also the other day who she's teaching at a school, but what she does is she takes a curriculum and then she teaches dance. She finds out what the children are learning in history, for example, and then she makes a little dance lesson around the history. And she's even done that with maths as well. And I thought, how brilliant that idea to do that. And I'm sure there will be children who will be much more interested in a history lesson after they've done it in such a way, of learning it through movement as well.
Yeah, of course. That's a brilliant idea. Well done. Kudos to her. But that's what it is, and it will stay more in their kids' mind, because you have lived it, you've experienced it, you've lived that math. You've danced in a circle, you've danced in a triangle, and okay, so then for younger kids, okay, you stood in a line. You know what a line is now. You know what a circle is. Go 4 steps forwards, 4 steps back. It's I don't know the English word again. Gosh, it's diese Bewegungslehre.
Movement learning.
Yes. Because it's being combined, it will stay in your mind, and it's more fun. Of course, it's way more fun that way. That's brilliant.
Yeah. No, I also think if I think the experiments have been done, the science is there that it does. Music and all forms of art really has an impact on a person and on the brain development.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wish, I don't know, that it would just be actually used and utilized more and put into place, into the education system way more. It would help kids so much on so many different levels, especially in times when a lot of the youngsters, a lot of teenagers, a lot of kids are, they're so much sidetracked and they're influenced so easily through what's on the internet and the social medias and everything. It's being made, a lot of them falsely influenced and badly influenced, unfortunately, of course. So if the educational system could sidetrack that through academic teaching, but making it real in that sense.
Yeah, and also giving, because the moment, I think it's also the dancer from Tanzania said that it's giving the people a purpose. It's like they have something that they work for, and it's uplifting he's uplifting the community. He's doing the most amazing work. He's even working with disabled people. So it's just shows you what is possible, but it just shows you what is possible from one human being, that he can change so many people's lives through art, through his dancing.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost him anything. He just goes out and he teaches people.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Exactly. Yeah.
But Melanie, tell me now, what are the wishes for you for the future? Where do you see your company going?
Well, my wishes, I live in Bamberg is a medium-sized town, I want to say, and I have put myself here with this wish to have a resident company, which is in a place where we have the Bamberg Symphonic Orchestra, which is very well known. We have a well-known city theater, and dance is missing. So I was kind of hoping to be that third art form here. We have also the Country Art Collective. They're contemporary dancers. They have a company as well, and a dance collective in that sense. So the two of us, I want to say, we're sort of trying to get dance onto the map, or bring Bamberg, my town, onto the dance map. It would be easier, say, if I was to be in Munich or in Berlin, then, I'd have more resources, I suppose. But I'm a little bit more, and I want to say that carefully, rural. It's a little bit harder. I would hope for a place, a theater where we could perform in, because that is very difficult at the moment for the freelancers in our city. We don't really have, especially for dance, not a venue, a suitable venue. So I'm hoping that will come soon. And then I could perform more of the shows, all these ideas that are floating around in my head for shows, so I can actually let them live on stage. Yeah. Also, I have created, where I had Dollie with me just now in February, I do 2 sessions a year of, they're called Jazz Days, where I invite international jazz dance artists and educators to have, it's always a weekend workshop, basically, for dancers of any level. For that to continue, I'm also looking for the Uprooted film team to come to Germany next year. I'm working on that currently, to have the film crew come over, and with an education workshop as well, sort of maybe 3-4 days. So there's lots of little pots, I want to say, that I have going as well.
But amazing that you do these workshops, because that also attracts people and collaborations then.
Correct. That's the big goal. It is not, I've only started it last year, and still last year we was still a little bit in the COVID fear, and people were still unsure. This year is definitely much better, but and everyone was very much hungry for workshops, and all this is, you know, only last year it was sort of starting to come up again. I'm hoping to make this, to get this a little bit bigger for a lot of people to connect, because again, it's about connecting. Dance is about connecting and communicating, and have the people enjoy all this together as a community. So I'm hoping that more people from outside will come and join in, and for jazz days or jazz dance to get a bigger recognition again as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you that. So that's the focus, jazz dancing, the focus.
Yeah, it's all and all forms of jazz. I offer, you know, Dollie Henry did jazz art. I had Jorge Vasquez. He has beautiful lyrical jazz. I teach musical theater jazz. So I have the different art forms, and every time I have different educators. I had Dennis Dean as well from Cologne. He was doing funky jazz. I had Alex Frey from Munich. He's a very big Bob Fosse educator, and we did Bob Fosse jazz. So I'm always having different jazz dance educators to bring all the different spices, if you will, of the jazz dance in, to see, okay, well, jazz dance has all this to offer, you know.
That's amazing. Yeah. No, that's wonderful. But all the best with this great work that you're doing. I absolutely admire you for, you know, setting out that dream and that wish and doing it, because it's so important that, like you say, and like Dollie also said, that people understand jazz for the art form that it is.
Yeah. Thank you. No, it's a journey. It's a struggle at times, of course, you know, but at the end of the day, when you hear the reactions and then the people, you know, they go out after Jazz Days weekend and they're in tears of happiness, or, you know, saying this is exactly what I needed. Or one person actually said, I didn't even know that I needed this weekend so badly.
Really?
You know, and that's what I'm just like, yeah, okay, I've done, that's all it needs, you know. It's this, and that's what makes it worth. And
yeah, because if a person is so touched by that, then of course they take that energy with them wherever they go. So, I mean, I was just, by talking to Dollie, and her passion about jazz made me look at it completely differently, you know. And I mean, and when I saw you also connected with her, I thought, no, we have to talk more about jazz.
Yes, thank you. No, I love it. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm honored to, you know, that you reached out to me. So
no, it's a great pleasure.
It's really great.
But thank you so much.
Everywhere you go, diamonds in your skin, my blood flows. Bring the lion out, bring the lion out, bring the lion out, bring the